Welcome back to the latest episode of Taking Charge of My Cancer podcast. I'm your host, Derly Munoz, and I have an amazing guest with me today, Ann Collett. Ann is an owner and operator of DexaFit here in Gainesville, which opened in August 2024. She has 30 plus years of experience in business and executive management and has a passion for health and wellness and helping people live their best lives. So, Anne, thank you so much for being part of this show. I really appreciate it.
Shirley, thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here today.
Absolutely. So, Anne, we just met not long ago through one of my colleagues, Shannon, and I really, really enjoyed you give us the opportunity to kind of go on, and we're going to talk more about Dexa and your company. But that's how
Yes.
we met. And then as I'm doing all this testing, I was like, oh my God, I need to ask her to and hear a little bit about your journey and how you get to this point. I'm like, I so want her to have, I want you to be on the podcast. And I really appreciate your like jumping right in. And here we are. So thank you very much
Thank
for
you.
doing that.
Yes, yes. It's exciting.
So tell us about your role and were you always planning on doing this?
No, I certainly wasn't. Uh, as you said, own DexaFit Gainesville, and we are a place where we encourage people to, I like to say, own your health before your health owns you. So we offer various types of testing that help people understand what's going on internally inside their bodies. And the journey began for me. A while back, my son, when he was 10 years old, was diagnosed with pediatric cancer, acute lymphoblastic leukemia, to be specific. And needless to say, it was just took us all by great surprise. We had no idea. He's a healthy, active young guy. And here we were facing a cancer diagnosis. And in pediatric leukemia, it's a very long journey. So while he got into remission very quickly in 30 days, we then had 39 months more of chemotherapy. So it was a 40-month journey for us of treatment.
Oh,
And happy to say that right now he just turned 18 and he's thriving and has a great life. He's, athletic and doing well in school. And we've had a very good outcome and we're very, very thankful for that. But along the way, as you can imagine, reaching, almost 4 years of treatment, we were very thankful for all of the service and care that he received from his oncology team and the knowledge. And I mean, obviously, he's doing so well, right? But it became very apparent to me that from a holistic perspective, that while our medical team was very good at taking care of the leukemia part, we really had to be the ones to address his overall lifestyle opportunities, that things that he could do to optimize his outcome and to have optimal health once he was done with his treatment. And so we turned to, he was 10, so it was me. I I jumped into, I became a voracious consumer of information about health and wellness, about food as medicine, about alternative therapies. And I read and I watched and I did all of these things that made me into a person who became very informed about certainly the elements of treatment, but then how can you make treatment better? How can you help your body be better during treatment and post treatment? And so really dug in on foods, on exercise, on massage therapy, chiropractic, other things that we did for him that I think in the end really added to his outcome. And so when I dug in and just got very passionate about it, I found that I had a great love for all things health and wellness. And I run another company. My background is all in business. And I decided, I might be looking for a good entrepreneurial opportunity that would allow me to mix my business experience with my passion and really newfound knowledge in the health and wellness space. And I came across DexaFit a couple of months ago and began conversations. And then here we are. We opened DexaFit in Gainesville in August of 24. And it's the perfect type of business that allows me to use my expertise and my passion for helping people to get better, because we have all walks, people from all walks coming in, whether they are healthy, whether they're just beginning their health journey, whether they're menopausal, or whether they're just completed some sort of treatment for for an ailment or disease. And so it allows us to help people live their best life. And I like to say, own your health before your health owns you.
Yeah, and I really like that. So you say you have another business. You want to tell me a little bit about that business?
Yes, well, I don't own the other business. I run it. I'm the president. It's a software company where it's a very niche product, and I've done it for many years. And prior to that, I was in the telecom industry and I worked for the Chamber of Commerce. And so just have had a lot of experience both in the private sector and in in the nonprofit sector and as a consultant and running businesses. So what I'm doing now is sort of the perfect meld of all
Right.
that experience, and then marrying it with my passion for helping people
That's
to live
amazing.
healthy lives.
That's excellent. And I've been listening a little bit more and more in functional medicine, and
Yeah.
I'm more and more intrigued with every time I hear something. And so it's kind of really, it's great that we have something here in Gainesville that I actually can direct patients to look into other options and look into going into that path a little bit. We talk a little bit about it's not really that many functional physicians here, or functional medicine physicians here in Gainesville. We have a couple, but it's not like big like maybe in other areas. So it's kind of nice to
Right.
see. Hopefully we can start growing that more here. And it's nice to start really looking things a little bit out of like the traditional medicine, because it's a lot of things that then yes, traditional medicine, and I work on that. That's my full-time job. So I'm all about
Right.
traditional medicine, but at the same time, is really start opening a lot of the eyes into it's not just this. And like you say, we sometimes in traditional medicine is like, we're just gonna fix the disease. We are not gonna prevent the disease. So that's
Right.
kind of like the main thing is like, what else can we do? And from my standpoint, which is, physical therapy, is just kind of keep the patients educated and kind of put that little seed in their head, like, you should go and listen to this and look into that and see what you think, right? See if you like it. You can start looking outside that traditional medicine that sometimes
Yeah.
it doesn't have all the answers.
Well, and I agree 100%. And, we call it a healthcare system, but it's actually treating sick people. When you're in the healthcare system, you're probably there because you're sick. And so what we at DexaFit are trying to do is keep you out of the healthcare/sick care system, and put you in a preventative place, or help you recover if you're coming out of a condition. Well, then how can we help you recover in an optimal way so that you can stay out of that healthcare system, right? Because I think in today's world, we have to understand the way the healthcare system is built. You get 10 or 15 minutes with your physician. It's not enough time to cover all the content of what's going on with your body. And we are all individually responsible ultimately for our own health, and knowing what our markers are and what we need to do from an exercise perspective or from a nutrition perspective, in owning our own activity and in owning our own intention, that we can't rely on a physician necessarily to tell us what to do. We have to educate ourselves and then take advantage of tools that are out there that keep you informed as to where your body really is today.
Exactly. So now that we mentioned DexaFit, you want to just tell the audience, what is DexaFit?
Yeah, I would love to. So, DexaFit, we are a company. I like to say we help people own your health before your health owns you. We offer a couple of different types of testing that tell you what's going on in your body. So, as part of our name, you hear the word DEXA. A lot of people are familiar with a DEXA scan, which is an open air table. You just you're on the table and a bar goes over you and it scans your body. And what comes out of it is a DEXA report that tells you what's your bone density, what is your lean muscle mass, what is your body fat percentage, and where is your body fat. And then it also tells you what is your visceral fat. And it's actually the only method by which you can find out what your visceral fat is. And for those who don't know what visceral fat is, we have what's called subcutaneous fat. That's, the fat on our butt and our hip that none of us like, right? But that's not going to be the fat that ultimately, takes us to disease. Visceral fat is what is wrapped around your organs. You can't see it. We actually have a lot of thin people who come in who have high visceral fat because it's invisible. It's not necessarily, available under the skin to see. But visceral fat contributes to a number of metabolic diseases, type 2 diabetes, what's now being called type 3 diabetes, Alzheimer's. It contributes to cardiometabolic issues. And so we can tell you exactly what your visceral fat is. We can tell you what your biological age is. This is a relatively new term, but your chronological age is exactly how old you are, right? So if you're 50, then that's 50 years old, that's your chronological age. But based on the input and the output of your tests, we can tell you, well, your body, according to what you're seeing and what your results are, you have the body of a 35-year-old, or perhaps if you're 50, you might have the body of a 60-year-old. And it just shows at what progression your body is aging based on these results. So you can improve these biological ages by taking action on the results of the tests that you get. And so that comes out of our DEXA scan. We also do what's called resting metabolic rate assessment, which tells you how many calories you specifically burn while at rest. And we do that. You breathe into a tube for about 10 or 12 minutes, and you got to experience this when you were in a few weeks ago. You just sit in a recliner and breathe. And we can tell from your levels of your oxygen and carbon dioxide coming out, we can tell you exactly how many calories you burn at rest every day. So that's Durley's resting metabolic rate of if you don't exercise, you don't get up, you're just sitting on the couch all day. And so let's just say that is 2,000. Then through our app, we can talk to you and walk you through how active are you? Are you sedentary? Are you lightly active, moderately active, or do you have a job where you're on your feet and you're going all day? And when we input that choice, we can tell you what is your total caloric need for the day. So we take your resting that we got from the test we gave, and then we take your information on your activity level, we combine it, and we can tell you, okay, Durley, well, you have 3,000 calories a day in order to maintain exactly where you are. And then we can work with people who may want to have fat loss. Then let's take away 500 calories. And then if you reduce your caloric intake to that number, you should experience fat loss. Or maybe you want to increase lean muscle mass. And so we say, well, then you should increase your caloric intake, and we tell you what that should be. And so that's our second test we do. And then our last test is the VO2 max test. A lot of people may have heard about it. You wear a mask and you're on a treadmill or a bike, and we're actually able to tell you what is your cardiorespiratory fitness level compared to your peers. And the VO2 max test is actually the single greatest indicator of your overall cardiac ability. And we compare you to your peers. And then from that test, we can also give you optimal training zones for either fat loss, burning calories so that you experience fat loss, or what we call high intensity interval training, which is what improves your cardio status. And so we do those 3 tests. All of the information is combined into an app where you can access the information at any time. We also send everyone a report via email from each of their test results so that they could read through it in more detail or share it with a practitioner like a physician or nutritionist, a personal trainer that they might be working with. And we combine all of that information, and it's all available in the app. And then we have that baseline so that when you come back for subsequent testing, you're actually able to see what your change has been since your last visit. And so we have bundles. You can get all 3 tests, you can get 2 tests, you can get 1 test, depending on what it is you would like to measure.
Perfect, perfect. And again, I think that was like super fun to do it. Again, it can be
Yes.
an eye opener for certain things. Certain things were no surprise, but definitely it's like, whoa, 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 I was not expecting that. So yeah,
Yeah,
fun.
we have a lot of I was not expecting that. Everyone talks about the metabolic test and they think that it's going to tell them they need to eat less.
Yeah.
But I can tell you we have just as many, if not more, people who come in who need to be eating more.
Yeah, I was one of them. So I was like,
Yes, I know, I remember.
I'll try to work in my intake calorie. Okay. So if you can give us 3 valuable tips for the patients who actually had a journey of cancer, any kind of cancer, or are going through their journey of cancer, uh,
Mhm.
even if as a parent for your son and where you have been experienced, maybe perhaps, I don't know how many clients has been coming to you that has have some issues with cancer, but what will be those?
Just general tips
Yeah.
overall. Yeah, I would say you have to own it. You can't wait. You can't count on your medical team to own your journey. They're only there to treat you for the disease, but you have to own your journey. And that's what we did. And a lot of it's trial and error. We tried a lot of things that didn't work. But then we found, by trying, oh, this worked, oh, this didn't work. And then the things that did, we focused on those and made sure that we made them part of our regular treatment plan. Something like we discovered that him getting massage therapy the day before he got an infusion, he was able to receive that chemo better and get it out of his body faster. And he recovered better on the back end when he had massage therapy the day before an infusion. In our personal experiences, we saw a medical massage therapist. So I would definitely recommend that if anyone were to go down that path, that they seek out someone who has that tilt, who understands what's going on with someone who is receiving chemotherapy or radiation or wherever it may be. It's a little bit of an elevated knowledge and experience level as compared to someone who just does massage for relaxation. But there's a relaxation component too. It's also good for the caregiver to get the relaxation massage. I would say that. Food, very important. It always amazes me that when you're in treatment, whether you're inpatient or you're at an infusion clinic and you go into the snack room, how very unhealthy the snacks are in a hospital and the meals, frankly. We were very intentional about the food that we fed our son. We brought our lunches every day when we knew we were going to be there all day for an infusion. We would bring multiple healthy snacks and a lunch and a lot of water, and hydration being so important. And so stay away from junk foods, stay away from ultra processed foods, fruits, veggies, good meats, and just being intentional about your diet. And sugar is not your friend in this condition. We found that out as well. Sometimes, you need a little treat, you need a little pick me up, but sugar in general makes you feel worse as you're trying to overcome the feelings and the side effects of of a treatment, a chemotherapy treatment. And then community, have people around you who support you and love you. And when people offer to help you, don't say, "Oh, no, thank you, that's okay." I would, if I were to go back, I would take up more people on their offers of assistance. I got better as time went on, but in the beginning, I think someone who's at the front of their journey, you don't want to be a burden to people, and you just say, "Oh, no, that's okay. It's fine. I don't need help." Well, we all need help. And I just had a friend whose husband was diagnosed with leukemia as an adult a couple of weeks ago, and that was my first text to her: accept the help.
Good, good.
Yeah.
Did you know any reason? What is the physiological reason why massage therapy you think helps before the infusion days?
Well, as it was explained to me, it was, well, first of all, you're clearing the lymph out, right? So you're getting your body in a good place to receive the chemo. You're putting your body into a relaxed state. You're flushing toxins that are existing in your muscles before you get an
Yes.
infusion, right? So you're flushing those toxins out in advance, and it just puts your body in a better state to receive it. Like you're clearing yourself of all the junk that's in there already, right? To make room for the junky chemo that's coming in. But when you do it, your body is it's just in a better place. And hydrate along with that.
Okay, okay. Great. I did not realize that. We are really promote exercise before infusions. And that's
Yeah.
what we do with a lot of our patients. If they go into an infusion, they come here, we give them a very heavy workout right before
Yeah.
they walk upstairs for infusion. And that has been super helpful
I
for
bet.
side effects, but I did not realize about massage. So I'm maybe going to start to really recommend that.
Yeah. Yeah. Movement in general, I think, was very important.
Mhm.
And it makes sense, truly, that a workout before an infusion, it would have, well, I think about it, it would be similar to a massage, right? You're moving through your body, you're moving your muscles, you're doing all the things similar to a massage. It's a different modality, but a similar concept, I would imagine.
Mhm. What type of resources do you recommend for patients and caregivers to look into when they are going through any cancer treatments?
Yeah, well, this is one that I think I urge caution, because we all have this tendency to dive into the World Wide Web and Dr. Google ourselves to death. And I received some very good information upon initial diagnosis to stay off of the internet in the beginning, because you go down these rabbit holes of various scenarios that they might be like yours. It might be the same diagnosis, but it's not even near what your circumstance is, right? And then you could really work yourself into a tizzy. And so my initial recommendation would be to have a filter and to not dig in. Do your research, but you want to do it through credible sources, and that is not always on the World Wide Web.
You're right. Yep.
Um,
That's a very good point. Yep.
yeah, yeah, and there are good people. Um, I would also recommend other people who have gone or who are currently going through whatever you're going through, because there are shared experiences when you and a shared understanding when you have someone who is, we saw a lot of kids in the infusion clinic. Obviously, it was pediatric, but there were a lot of other leukemia kids there, but there were kids who were there for brain cancer or bone cancer. But there were some overlap of the type of chemo. And so we would talk about side effects and, foods and things that each of us did to help make our kids feel better. And so there's definitely strength in people having that community of those who have a shared experience.
Yeah, that's very good. And you're absolutely right. Sometimes is And even when some of the other people that is going through the same thing, just careful. Sometimes some support groups can be really good for you, but sometimes it's not. So always
Yes,
get surrounded by good energy, right? So not necessarily if somebody had a bad experience, then
right. Don't
don't
talk to them.
scare you. Yeah,
That's right.
it scare
Yeah,
you because then you think I'm gonna go exactly, or how many people deny treatment because so and so
yeah,
did had a really hard time with it. So yeah,
yes.
kind of pick and choose what you want to be surrounded by. So
I agree. And I think too, that's where your care team
mhm.
can make those connections because they know who those people are. Like, oh, you have someone, you played tennis. We had someone else who also played tennis, and here's what her experience was. Let me see if she's okay with connecting you. And I think that that is a smart way, to your point, because they know the personalities of the people, and they're also their personal experience.
Yep, perfect. What is a common question that you find, like, what did you feel like you were when you went through the treatments with your son, like things that you find that you commonly keep asking, or other people that maybe was there in your same shoes were asking the oncologist, like what kind of questions are usually those?
Mm, yeah. When is this going to be over? How much longer? Probably the common theme. Um, with it, and my experience is obviously through the pediatric lens, but there were a lot of stages of chemo, and when one stage ended determined when the next one would begin. And so we didn't know until quite a ways into our journey when it was really officially going to end. And so the uncertainty of all that, especially when you're dealing with a child and the academic load that they're still in school, or they go to virtual school, or they do something. But, how do you strike that balance between trying to attain a normal life while in treatment, and how long is this going to take? Like, when can someone return to their normal life, I think would be a big question. We did the best we could to maintain a normal life because it was important, I think, for mental well-being, that an individual who is in treatment or post-treatment try to get to their real life as much or as soon as possible. Because while cancer is a physical journey, obviously it is also a mental and emotional one, just as much as it is a physical one. And so being able to normalize, yes, we're going to go out to dinner, or yes, you can, in our case, yes, you can be on the basketball team. Because that is what is going to help heal as much as the medication and the chemo will.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. We notice a big difference. And again, I don't have a lot of experience on the pediatric side because we really don't see pediatrics
Yep.
here. And I just have been on the world of the adults. But definitely when you're going through a cancer journey, if you keep up with try to keep your life as normal as possible, meaning work,
Yep.
exercise, doing your same thing, being healthier, actually, because unfortunately, that's what
Yes.
we have to be conscious. Like you say, right now we should be thinking about being healthier so we don't have to face a bad
Yeah.
disease, but many times we start to be conscious until we are experience the disease, and that's when we start changing habits, which shouldn't be that way, but that's the way it is. For the most part, that's what I know we're trying to change. But definitely, I think that's the more, be healthier, but try to keep up with your same routines as I see the best outcomes in general, even from the mental health standpoint.
Yes, absolutely. Our son is a big basketball player, still is. And when it came time for middle school basketball, he had a port in his chest for his chemo. And, we did have people ask us, you're really going to let him play basketball with a port in his chest? Yeah, we are, because he needed to play basketball. And we talked to the team, and they felt like the care team, and they felt like he could. And so we opted to do that. And it was probably one of the healthiest things that he was able to do, because he was at practice. He was shooting up hoops and making baskets, and he got to be part of a team. And it was just, it was very good for him physically because of being able to work through all that. He was on a lot of steroids. But mentally and emotionally, he got to do what he loved best.
Excellent.
And got to be with his friends.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's the social part, right? You don't have to become isolated, because that's the worst you can do. Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. What is a painful lesson that you learn along the way? Not necessarily through your son, but in general, like if you see yourself now, when you, I mean, I'm sure that you always been, not everybody is a driver like you, right? So it's not like somebody is in business and all of a sudden they start to read books about nutrition and wellness and fitness,
Right.
and they start to kind of like make changes on your own, right? Except if you always have that little seed in the back, right? So I'm sure that your whole life you've been conscious about it. Otherwise, I don't think that will be something, at least you come across something major, right? So if you have to do it all over again, like if you go back time, what will be, will you be doing the same things? Will you be changing something different? What will you be doing differently?
Yeah. For me personally, I would have taken better care of myself as the caregiver. I hope I don't have to do it again, but if I were in that situation again, I would put my more priority on my own health, and wellness. I was very, how will I say it, vigilant, hyper vigilant, as it was explained to me once, or twice or 5 times. But I was hyper vigilant, right? Very much mama bear, and it's your child. And so that's just how I was going to be. And I would still remain hyper vigilant, but I would take better care of me along the way, because I always put that first. And I would still put it first, but I would make more time to make sure that I was being taken care of as well. Because when it was over, I had to take care of me at that point. And so I think it's important for caregivers to understand that it's okay to step away, to go do your own workout, to go have dinner with your own friends, to if you go to book club, then keep going to book club, or whatever it is that you do, because cancer doesn't just affect one person, it affects everybody. And as a parent or as a spouse, it's especially impactful, or as a sibling. We have a daughter as well. And so you have to, each in your own individual way, keep doing those things that are important to you and maintain your identity outside of caregiver mother, caregiver spouse, caregiver sibling, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's very well said. I think that if you go, I mean, in general, right? As a mom, we always put kids before, no matter what, right? No matter how old are they, right? And now when you have a kid who has been diagnosed with something
Right.
like this, then even now, I'm sure this has even better outcomes because we're growing so much on treatment. So 8 years ago, even though that was really good outcomes, I mean, I remember before that, it's like, oh my God, you're being diagnosed with leukemia, you're gonna die, pretty much, right?
Right.
So definitely things changing for the good in how we manage this cancer diagnosis and how we can get better outcomes. But at the same time, you're right, we always put that person in front of us when the kids are even more. And then at the end of the day, if we are not keeping ourselves healthier, how are we going to take care of them, right?
Absolutely.
So that's super important. So that's a very good advice. What is the meaning of advocate for yourself and how you can advise to do that? Because you were a mama bear, and I'm sure you being the one advocating and look at to the point that you're now doing this, just kind of like you have
I mean,
Yeah.
I think the whole journey brought me to the moment where I am today because, DexaFit as a company, it's about advocating for yourself. It's about taking ownership of your health. It's about knowing what's going on inside of you so you can live longer and better, health span matching lifespan. But in the cancer journey, it's incredibly important to advocate because, like it or not, you're part of a system. And the system has constraints, and the system is run by people who also have constraints, many of whom are well-meaning and just doing their jobs. But then in, other cases, you're maybe in a place where a department's understaffed, nurses are overworked, and, you have to advocate if you're an adult for yourself, or if you're taking care of a child, or even a spouse who's really not in a good shape to advocate for himself or herself. You own your health, whether you are being proactive and exercising every morning, or whether you are in a hospital bed and receiving treatment. How you receive that treatment, and when you receive that treatment, and what is involved with that treatment, and understanding it is also advocating. And advocating is everything from beginning to end, and it's proactive and it's reactive. And I can't stress enough how we are all our own advocates in the end.
Perfect. I want to ask you something. If we go back a little bit about my experience when I went to your place, was
Yep.
you offer as well some infrared therapy,
Yeah.
sauna. So you want to tell people a little bit about the benefits of that and exactly what that entails.
Yes, definitely. We at DexaFit offer both red light therapy, full body red light therapy, and an infrared sauna. And you can come in one time and try it, or we have subscription where you can come multiple times a month, unlimited, whatever. But the benefits are very similar. It's about addressing inflammation in our bodies, especially as we age. The sauna specifically helps with detoxification and getting toxins out of your system, because you essentially sweat those toxins out. And it's, you can sweat out toxins through exercise as well, right? And it's why it's important to sweat to get the toxins out of your body, whether you're on a run or on a treadmill or biking or whatever. But if you want to kick it up to the next notch, an infrared sauna allows you to get into a high temperature, anywhere from, depending on what your heat tolerance is, to 125 to 155. And with the infrared sauna, we probably all have this image of a steam sauna where you step in and it's kind of foggy and steamy and muggy. An infrared sauna is not like that. Okay, it's very dry, and you step in and you're actually sweating from the inside out versus that drippiness that you get from a steam sauna. And what that does is get those impurities out and detoxify your system. It also helps with muscles and relaxation and recovery. In red light therapy, there's not a heat component. It's red light. And we offer full body red light. So you come in and it's actually on a massage table where it's a 20-minute session, and we recommend 10 minutes face up and then 10 minutes face down. And you may have seen a lot of smaller red light systems where it's for your knee or your shoulder or your face or whatever. We opted to go with full body because we can take care of your face and your knee and your shoulder with full body, but at the same time, we're offering you the benefits of systemic reduction of inflammation. And it gets to the mitochondrial level so that it helps with cellular rejuvenation. And we have a lot of people using it for hair loss, for recovery, some folks with autoimmune disease. We've got skin issues, very good for skin issues, for wound healing. And so for folks who would be in treatment for cancer or post-cancer, we would want them to check with their physician to make sure that they're in a place where it is a good thing to do red light, because it's not always a good time, especially if someone's in treatment. But both are excellent modalities, not just for relaxation, but for overall wellness and fighting that inflammation.
Perfect. Great. And how can people find you?
Yes, that's great. We are at Gainesville.dexafit.com. Very easy to find us. And you can read all about our offerings online. We have many pages to talk about our tests and the benefits. And you can also book online, and makes it easy. And you can access our calendar and your calendar at the same time, so that if you decide some night at 11 p.m. that you want to book something for that weekend, we don't have to be open. You don't have to call us. You can just book it right online and pay online, and we make it as easy peasy as possible.
Excellent. And I will put all those on the show notes so people can see that. Is any books or podcasts that you will recommend?
Yes, I love Dr. Mark Hyman. He's very big in the functional medicine world. I enjoy listening to him, and he has excellent books as well. I have many of them, Using Food as Medicine, and he has a personal story too, where he was very sick, and he's a physician, and he got to the root cause of his illness, and then used foods and exercise and infrared sauna and cold plunging and other modalities to help him get better. And he's written a couple of cookbooks and things like that. So very interesting and enlightening.
Excellent. How about podcasts?
Yeah, kind of all over. I enjoy women's health right now, given that I'm a female in my 50s. So I do listen. There's a great orthopedic surgeon who's in Lake Nona. Her name is Dr. Vonda Wright. And she's an orthopedic surgeon, but she specializes in longevity. And so her topics, she does talk about a lot of 50 plus women type topics, but she talks about longevity as well. And her practice specializes in longevity too. And as she says, she sees a lot of people who are coming in with their broken hips and bones when they're in their 70s, and they're frail because they haven't done the work in their 40s and 50s to be strong. And that's such a match for what we do at DexaFit, because the bone density is a piece of the DEXA scan. And so we can tell you where you are and where you're trending, and your lean muscle mass really helps with agility. Like, your ability to remain upright if you trip is due in large part to what is your lean muscle mass like. And so we can tell you what your trends are now. And the exercise we do in our 50s, it's really about what's the life we want to live in our 70s. Can we lift our groceries off the floor? Can we put our luggage up in the rack when we're on the plane? Can we pick our grandkids up? And that kind of work is done in our 50s. And she talks about you fracture your hip in your 60s, and there's a 30% chance you won't be here in a year.
Oh, wow. That's excellent.
That's a scary number to me in my late 50s. And if you do survive, you will not return to full capacity and full functionality. And so it's a message that's getting out there more and more, that we need strong bones and we need strong muscles. And the standard healthcare definition of, oh, you get a DEXA when you're 65, that is too late.
Yeah, that's absolutely. And then exactly that's what happened, right? Versus try to talk about DEXA when you're younger, so you can start to do that to prevent that. Like, then we go into this whole world of hormones, right? Hormone replacement. Why should you just wait until menopause versus to prepare your body before it goes down that?
Right.
Before you a lot of things, before you actually get there. So
and even folks who are listening, your patients that have been through treatment, so many of these drugs impact bone density and lean muscle mass, or you may have been sidelined for a number of months and stopped working out, or whatever your case may be. It's a great opportunity to come in and get a new baseline. Where are you? Because now you're out of treatment. So how are you going to get better to position yourself to be healthier for the future?
Yeah, that's excellent. And this has been super fun conversation. I can continue talking to you for hours.
I know, I know. We need to go out to dinner to continue our
Yes,
conversation.
absolutely, we do. But thank you very much. I really appreciate your time and all your
Thank you for
expertise.
having me.
Absolutely. And until later.
Yes, thanks. Have a great one.
You too. Bye.